There are two areas of research in synthetic biology. One is involved, as I said, in genetically engineering cells for biotechnology, for example, for harvesting electricity from microbes, and the other is in building supercomputing chips to simulate pathways in cells for cancer and diabetes. My general area of research is in biological circuits and systems. So on the one hand, we engineer wet DNA protein molecular circuits in living cells. And on the other hand, we engineer dry electronic circuits on supercomputing chips. And these chips can then go back to do very fast simulations of biological circuits and biological pathways in cells. We can do wet and dry circuits at the same time in a unified way because of a fundamental discovery that was made in my lab a few years ago that showed that there's a very deep similarity between electronic circuits and chemical circuits. So the same thermodynamical physical laws that cause electron flow in transistors also govern molecular flows in chemical reactions. So that means you can literally map electronic circuits to chemical circuits and vice versa very efficiently. And so it gives you a very unifying way to synthesize and analyze circuits in both the wet and the dry domains. One of the things that is very important that I've learned from my research is that in order to be truly interdisciplinary, you really have to master both biology and engineering. And that means you have to be wet and dry at the same time. You have to be an amphibian. You have to be comfortable swimming in the water in the wet biological circuits and comfortable walking on land when you do the electronic circuits. And it's a synergistic positive feedback loop that allows you to have high impact in both domains. And it's very difficult to just take a biologist and an engineer and bring them together and say, why don't you just talk to each other? It's like fish don't talk to land animals. And so if you're an amphibian, you really can understand both the common things and the differences in both fields and work with very high impact. The field of synthetic biology and the particular area that I work in, analog synthetic biology, has a vast number of applications. If you can engineer cells, you pretty much use them for sensing molecules in the security or food or pharmaceutical industry, for producing pharmaceuticals, for making renewable electricity by harvesting carbohydrates, for, as I said, engineering immune cells that you put into the body, or engineering other pro-good microbes to fight bad microbes. There's really a vast space of things you can do. It's a way of looking at biology as an engineering discipline and re-engineering biological systems. My lab has also worked on biological circuits inspiring the design of better electronic circuits. For example, a few years ago, we designed a radio frequency chip that could very quickly, over a very wide spectrum, analyze wireless signals. And it mimicked how the ear analyzes the spectrum of sound signals. So we took ideas from how the ear builds circuits for analyzing sound and applied them for analyzing wireless waves. Right now we are looking at circuits in the cell to do massively parallel, massively energy efficient, and computing that is very insensitive to noise, that can do reliable computation with unreliable parts. So we're figuring out how to build electronic circuits that are inspired by biology as well. I think the importance of industry is that it keeps you very practical. And very small details that you don't think of in academia can be very important in a commercial product. And so by having close ties to industry, you're forced to stay practical. And paradoxically, as Ludwig Boltzmann said, that which is the most fundamental is also the most practical. So you really have to understand the practical and the fundamental very deeply. And I think ties to industry make you more whole in your research.